Hey, 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 encourager. Welcome back to another episode. I know communication has been a huge topic that we've been talking a lot about lately, mainly because it's so important in relationships. And I don't know anybody who doesn't want to have better communication in their relationship. And I feel like communication becomes an even bigger factor when it's not happening right. When you are tired of having the same fight, the same argument, the same disagreements on repeat, communication becomes a key that you need to unlock. Did you know that effective communication can improve relationship satisfaction by 50%? Yes, 50%. Okay, listen, if we are not in this for the relationship satisfaction, then what are we even doing? So, we're going to get into some simple steps that you can take to actually have the communication that you want to have, especially when it comes to your responses. Because I don't know about you, but I used to be a chronic response person. Okay. So, we're going to get into some simple steps that you can put into action right away to start getting a return on that relationship satisfaction that we all want to have. I have to think about your default in your communication. Are you usually the person who responds first, or do you usually react first? And let me just give you a little background on the difference between the two. So, if you respond first, it means that you might take a breath, take a beat or two to just collect yourself, get yourself together, and actually respond from a place where you're calm. You can clearly communicate your thoughts and your feelings without all of the emotions, but you can just simply have a conversation, and you're really coming from more of a place that's neutral. You're more poised, and you've really been thoughtful about how to communicate your feelings. That's responding. However, you might be more of a reaction based communicator, which is you take names and ask questions later. Trust me, this used to be me. Guilty. And I've worked long and hard on this, and truthfully, it's still something that I continue to work on. But in the reaction mode, you just go smooth based off of your first instinct, your emotions, your feelings. Like you are just reacting instead of taking a moment to pause, really listen to what your partner is saying, really understanding their position. You've just been listening to formulate your own position and reacting from that place. Reacting really just creates those negative cycles in your relationship because we all have a certain default that we fall into as soon as conflict hits. As soon as there's a problem, there is an immediate reaction, and you each have a role and you just fall right into it. Meaning, maybe it means it's going to be an argument and we want to out talk, over speak, raise the voice. Like it is an all out, full on, it's going down type of an argument. Or maybe it's the silent treatment or playing the tit for tat game. Who can hurt who with whatever insult that we can think of first? And the most witty person always wins. And all of this just makes you or both of you feel defensive, and then your feelings are hurt and you're frustrated, and it just leads to a big disconnect, which ultimately is just a breeding ground for resentment to build. So don't worry, I'm going to help you get your reactions under control, because responding is actually a sign of growth and maturity, and that is really the place that helps to actually breed more of an emotional connection. because communication can either be the bridge that helps to bring you two together, or it's going to be the bridge that you blow up because there's too much reaction going on and not enough compassion going on. So let me just share 3 simple steps that you can use when you start to feel like it's about to go down. I call this the OPP. Yeah, you know me. Okay, so for my old hip hop heads, if you know, you know. Okay, and if you don't know, check out Naughty by Nature OPP. It's a song, it's not really related, but I love the acronym so much because it's a great play on the letters that we use for this framework. The O stands for okay. Be okay with what your partner has to say. Maybe you don't like the tone, maybe you don't like their delivery, but try to see beyond the tone of their voice or the delivery that they're giving it to you, and try your best to just get to a place where you can just say, okay. You don't have to agree with what they're saying, but can you get to a place where you can acknowledge what they are truly saying to you? And sometimes you just have to level set because it's not always the best time to have a certain type of a conversation. If it's already gone left, meaning voices have already been raised and is just feeling real hostile, then this may not be the time to actually have this conversation. You might need to just say, okay, let's table this for another time because emotions are running high and this conversation, it's not going to lead us to where we ultimately really want to go. But just at a minimum, get to a point where you can say, okay, I acknowledge how you're feeling or where you're coming from. So many arguments could be avoided if you just understood each other's position. Because ultimately, that's what you really want. You want to be understood. You want to feel seen. You want to feel heard. You want to feel like the other person understands where you're coming from. And even if you don't agree, or even if you feel differently, it doesn't mean that you have to totally disregard what the other person is saying or disregard their feelings or how they're feeling. If you can simply say, okay, I just want to acknowledge your feelings right now. That alone, that all by itself can make a world of difference in your communication. And then the first P is pause. Take a pause for the cause because so many times you need the pause so that you don't react. You need the pause so that you can take a breath. Matter of fact, take several. Take several breaths, okay? Catch your breath before you pop off. Pause. You will thank yourself later because listen, there is nothing worse. I mean, maybe there is, but it would be a close second. There's really nothing worse than having to come back and apologize for some things that you said in the heat of the moment because maybe you really didn't mean them, or it came out in a more vicious way than what you were truly intending, and you really had your heart in another place, but it was your hurt feelings that were speaking for you on your behalf. Okay. So take a pause, take a moment to just assess what's coming up in you. If there's anger, rage, resentment, frustrations, any type of annoyance or irritations coming up in you, assess that. Be okay with all of those things coming up and then decide if you can, despite those feelings and emotions, can you again have this conversation at this time? Or do you need some time to kind of just work through the things that are coming up within you? Because let's also take a note in this place of pause that sometimes the things that are coming up in you they really don't have anything to do with your partner per se. Sometimes the things that are coming up in you are past things that have happened that are resurfacing, and that is what you really need to address. So many times we need to deal with our own self and the things that are coming up within us that we need to deal with. And yes, the other person plays a part because they're tap dancing on something that they don't even recognize, they don't even know, because maybe it's an old wound, maybe it's an emotional trigger for you. Like this could be sparking up some deep seated, deep rooted things. Or even it's just things that you dealt with or thought that you fully dealt with, but maybe this is bringing it back up and it's showing you, like, hey, there's still some work to do here. There's still something here that I really need to address or heal within myself. So, really taking this pause is not just about you figuring out what's coming up for you and where you stand on this particular situation, but it's also a pause to really reflect and think about, is this feeling or these emotions that are coming up for me, is this solely just based on this event that's happening right here with this person? Or are there some other things that this is attached to that need some attention? So the pause is not just to assess where you are in terms of responding or reacting, but it's also a place for you to just acknowledge the things that are coming up within you. Are those things tied to something from the past that needs to be addressed? Is this something within you that's really a you and you situation? Or is this really a you and this person in the relationship? And that's where the focus needs to be. So the pause is also a point of reflection for you to just recognize what's coming up for you and then deciding how to take a step forward. And this is really your opportunity to pop yourself back into neutral and not pop off, but to pause instead. And then the last P is practice empathy and focus on solutions. This is a little bit long and it's really a two-parter, but stick with me here. You're going to love this. Practice empathy, meaning can you empathize with the position that your partner is in? Can you empathize with their feelings? If you were to put yourself in their shoes, can you feel them? Can you remember a time when maybe you were in that position and how you felt? This is just a time to again nurture your person's perspective and really to just show some compassion, because maybe they are feeling a certain type of way and that was just really never your intention. Maybe you had a totally different intention and you just didn't act on it in a way that you really, really wanted to. Or maybe they just happened to perceive something that you said in a way that it was never intended to. So have some compassion for your partner. A little bit of compassion really goes a long, long way. And after all, wouldn't you want them to have compassion for you? And I mean, actually, this is like a whole nother episode. We touched on this compassion situation. So if you want to hear more about that, drop me a little note and let me know if you want to hear more about compassion, because I feel like I could talk about that for days. But really, if we can just practice a little bit more empathy and compassion for the other person, it really does create more of an environment that's more open and welcoming and more loving and caring. Because think about it, when you feel like your partner is fully seeing you, they are hearing you, they are showing some compassion for your feelings and where you are, doesn't that just feel so amazing. Don't you feel more secure in your relationship when compassion is meeting you and not just being criticized? So, really take that element into your communication. How can you show some compassion for where your partner is standing? And it's not about being right or wrong, it's really about just acknowledging them, showing some empathy and some compassion, just showing that you care about their feelings and where they stand. Even if you have a different position, this is how you keep building a bridge in your communication and really creating an environment that you can both nurture each other and thrive in. And from this place, it's so much easier to focus in on solutions because if you have taken a stance of empathy and compassion with your partner, they are more likely to also do the same for you. It's really a way that helps to disarm you both of your position of being against each other instead of the two of you against the issue that you're dealing with. This helps you lay down your weapons because some of y'all don't fight fair, okay? But this really helps you lay down your weapons so that you are both in a neutral position and you're not fighting each other, but fighting for your relationship. If you're going to fight for anything, fight for each other. And it's in this place that you can really focus in on solutions, not just solutions that work for you or the other person, but really what's going to work for the two of you in this relationship. So it's not just about what you can do or what I can do. Those things are important because in order for you to have real solutions, it's going to take the two of you. So after you've taken the steps of what you can do and what the other person can do, then it's what can we do together for this to work? What can we do together so that this feels like a safe space, so that this feels more like a team, more like we're working together, more like we're collaborating, more like it's you and me and not allowing all of these things to create the distance in between you. So how can you now focus in on solutions that are going to help you continue to build the bridge to stay connected instead of a bridge that leads you further apart or that just gets blown up because of emotions getting out of control? Because if there is one common thing that everyone is seeking in their relationships, it is craving connection. And it's hard to be connected when you're constantly fighting and feeling like you're at war, feeling like it's you versus them, when it should really be a we, where it should really be an us, where it should really be a couple united, facing whatever it is that comes your way. Because at the end of the day, we all want a safe space that we can just be ourselves, where you can be vulnerable and share how you really think and how you feel without the fears that come up, the fear of being judged, the fear of them not liking you, the fear of them leaving you. Like all of these fears and judgments and all of these things start showing up when that is the opposite of what you really want to be feeling. But in order to feel safe, in order to feel like you can be vulnerable, you have to create a space that allows those things to be able to step in, knowing that it's okay and it's safe to be there. And if you want those deep, meaningful, connected relationships, you have to be working to build your emotional intimacy. It is so, so critical to build up that emotional intimacy, because if you don't really feel safe to express what you really think or what you feel without fear or without judgment or being ridiculed or being guilted or shamed later on, it's difficult for a relationship to thrive. And that's not what we want, because we started out this episode saying we want that relationship satisfaction, honey. And in order to have that, it's going to take a different type of effort on your part and on their part too. But you only can control you. So let's start with you. We got to start to build that deep emotional intimacy. We got to start handling things together as a unit, one band, one sound. Because that's really the environment where you feel like you are growing together as a couple and creating an environment where you both feel valued, seen, heard, and understood, nurtured, and cared for. Communication should really create harmony in your relationship, like your favorite love song. So I hope that you loved and enjoyed this episode as much as I loved and enjoyed making it for you. And I created something special for you. There is a free response and responsibility checklist, and it is yours. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes and snag your checklist. It's going to give you some simple steps that you can take in order to de-escalate and have the communication that you want to have. And there's even a mini guide that's packed with the actual questions that you can ask each other, and even more steps that you can take to help you build the productive and positive communication you really want to have. It is so important to me now more than ever. We need each other. We need the people in our lives, and we need our relationships to be intact. And now more than ever, I just want to help people have the amazing relationships that we all crave and desire. So encourage over your communication, because together we can. Encourage over everything. See you soon.